What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today's video is going to be kind of all over the place. Well, I don't know. We'll see in the edit. I think it's going to be all over the place. A few days ago, I was on a train ride up to LA area to visit a friend, and I thought, maybe I'll do a Q&A video during the spots in between here and there when I can, because no kids, and why not? All right, on to the actual video.
Oceanside comes up in about 10 minutes. If you just joined us, welcome. Please have your tickets out, ready for scanning. Oceanside will be home. Folks, we are now arriving at San Juan Capistrano. Please watch your step here at San Juan. There is a large dip in the platform.
Okay, so hopefully you can hear me all right here. I am just filming on my phone. So it goes to show, hopefully you can make a YouTube video just with your phone. San Juan Capistrano is the cutest town ever. I have about 3.5 hours here until I catch my train all the way into LA. The reason why I decided to spend so long in this spot is because the high in LA is like 90 something degrees today, and it's perfect weather in San Juan Capistrano. So I'm just gonna hang out here. I thought I would sprinkle in some Q&A throughout this video. I put a little question out on Instagram stories this morning while I was on the train, and y'all sent in a few questions. The first question was about whether it's kind of financially viable to have a practice kind of on the side with maybe 2 to 3 clients a week. Certainly 2 to 3 clients a week wouldn't be enough to like replace a full-time income, but I don't think that was likely what the question was about. It depends on what your goals are. Like if you're looking to add a huge amount of supplemental income with 2 to 3 clients a week, I imagine it's not gonna be too far into the green. But if the goal is to maybe kind of build up a side practice that then later you're wanting to see more clients in or something like that, I think it's completely financially viable. Like you're not going to be losing tons of money. I have a video from way back when about how to calculate what those expenses are for a part-time practice, so I'll link to that below in case that's helpful. The next question was about whether I had any helpful tips for keeping up with documentation. First and foremost, I recommend you check out Dr. Maelisa McCaffrey's YouTube channel if you haven't. Like her whole channel is all about documentation and she's crushing it. So I'll link to her channel below because her advice is going to be a lot more expert and knowledgeable than mine. I'd say 2 things. One, kind of maybe stating the obvious, if there's any way to build in your note-taking as a habit, and however you access that habit is probably going to look different. Like it's not like the same habit for every person. So some people find it really helpful to do their notes in that 10-minute gap between sessions. I find that really stressful because I need those 10 minutes to regroup before the next session. I build my schedule, my client schedule, with the assumption that I'm going to have to take notes at some point during the day. And then the other tip is just to see if there's any ways you can streamline the actual note-taking experience. The next question was about tips on burnout in private practice, which, my heart goes out to you. And then you sent kind of a follow-up statement saying you've tried consult, supervision, and it just kind of wasn't your cup of tea. I think you said something like it didn't align with your values or something like that. So of course, if there's any way that you could find a group like that that does align with your values, I think it's worth investing some energy into that. I know that's easier said than done. So some questions to ask might be, is the burnout coming from how many hours you're working? Is it coming from, maybe you're not feeling adequately compensated for the work that you're doing? Is it maybe the types of populations that you're working with are maybe pulling more energy from you? Or maybe it's something like you're in a particular season right now where you got a lot of personal stuff going on, and maybe a full practice in that season might look a little smaller than a full practice in other seasons. I've been there many times. So I would try to pinpoint whatever is contributing to the burnout. If you're not sure and it just feels overwhelming, then it's okay to schedule a break if you have access financially and all of that to schedule a break and just kind of regroup and listen to what's going on in your body. I'm so sorry that you're feeling burnt out. Okay, my vision for this video is I'm gonna kind of keep answering different Q&As as we go. I'm gonna enjoy this amazing weather in San Juan Capistrano. All right, I'll see you again sometime. I've arrived in Fullerton. I'm doing this so that hopefully you can hear me all right when there's other people around. So the next question was asking about how to recharge your batteries to prepare for life's challenges, which I love. Yes, I'd say that gardening has been my primary therapy for like my actual really big challenges in life, going through some big grief moments and things like that in the last decade or so. So that one does it for me. And also when there is a very present challenge, then I tend to consult with people I really, really trust to kind of like reality check, give me some encouragement and feedback. That always helps so much. And then just trying to give myself permission to like not feel great about the challenges for some time while I kind of regroup from them. The next question was about how do you deal with terminating, which I have feelings about our use of that word as a field, but how do you end therapy with a high-risk client who is refusing referrals? I feel like, without knowing more information, of course, about a specific client and all that, I feel like so much of it is kind of coming to our own psychological acceptance that this is the best we can do and it feels so subpar. Kind of the toughest hurdle for a lot of us, I think, is like, is it still okay to end the therapy with them if it's not appropriate for me to keep meeting with them for whatever reasons and they're not accepting the referral options? Consult group, 100% consult group. Just get people's support for like, is this the right decision? How do I cope with this? Whatever your kind of hangups are, get some feedback on that. Okay, things are getting a little bit more active around here, so maybe I'll catch up on some more questions later on. Okay, so the next day I went to Los Angeles and I had all this vloggy footage, and then I was going to do all these Q&As in Los Angeles, and then it just turned out to be so hot and busy, and I just couldn't find a good spot where it wasn't too hot or too noisy to answer more questions. So please enjoy this very random montage of LA scenes, concluded by my shoe breaking and my train home being delayed by 2 hours. Yes, that is a 2-hour train ride that got delayed by 2 hours, but LA was nice. Okay, back to the following day. Okay, so it's Monday now. I did get back to videoing like I thought I would, but here we are. I'm back at home. It's a work day. Oh, my dog says hi. Hi, Soapy. Anyway, so I just dropped my girls off at daycare, and I'm gonna clean a little bit and maybe answer some of your questions while I do that. While I get some laundry started. The next question was about if you're just starting out, is it better to hire someone to design your website versus DIYing it? Ultimately, the decision is yours. Obviously, when it costs a little more money up front, a lot of people will hire a web designer thinking that, you know, paying someone to design their website means that that person's going to design it in a way that helps their website show up to potential clients, and then realize only after the fact that they dropped 5 or 10 grand on a website designer to have a beautiful looking website that has absolutely no optimization to show up in search results. Web designers are designers. They're not necessarily SEO experts. So typically what I recommend is whether you DIY or whether you pay someone, make sure SEO is a priority. So I don't think it's worth paying someone to design a fancy website if they don't have any knowledge about SEO. All right, so the next question is about how can you tell if a city can support another therapist, and then they mentioned that they're in a small city. I love this question, and I think for me the question isn't about whether a city can support another therapist or not, and more about, you know, given the city that you're in or you're moving to or wanting to build your practice in, you know, what sort of strategy is going to best support you. If it's a super small town, then it may not be necessarily about picking that super duper 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 narrow niche, but it might be about, you know, how do you establish yourself as being super trustworthy when, even if you're in a super small town where there's maybe only a couple of therapists, you know, what's going to make somebody build trust with you over a different therapist, for example. Okay, and the next question is about whether I took out a business loan when I first started private practice. I do feel very strongly that we don't need to take on any more debt than most of us already have. When you start a private practice, you really can just be yourself. Make sure you kind of get a few of your legal requirements in order and a few of your systems set up, which are, in the grand scheme of starting a business, quite cheap. So my general recommendation is to not take out a loan. If you're thinking that you might need a loan to kind of cover the fact that it's probably going to take a while before, between opening your doors and like generating a full-time income, because that doesn't tend to happen instantaneously, then there's other ways to go about it if it's accessible for you, like keeping your existing job and just starting the private practice on the side, or if you can scale back your regular job to part-time. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can avoid adding debt. My 2 cents. Okay, the next question is about, what if you're just starting your private practice, you don't know your niche, is that going to hurt the SEO on your website? Though, yes, if you can find your niche and target those keywords on your website, that's only going to help your SEO. I wouldn't recommend like delaying starting a website just because you haven't found your niche. Even if you have a full website up and running and you just have no idea yet what your niche is, that's still going to help your website kind of boost its overall like authority on the internet. If there's any way you can emphasize kind of your general approach as a therapist to build trust and lean into that, I would highlight that on your website. And also, I'm not going to deep dive in this video, but if there's anything you can do to increase your domain authority through backlinks, that is something you can definitely work on. So I'll link to some videos below to learn more about what the heck I'm talking about when I say backlinks. Anything you can do now is only going to help you. Welcome to the mess that is my garage. Like, am I the only one? Please tell me I'm not the only one. So the next question was about whether CA licensed LMFTs can see California residents while the LMFT is living out of state. Now, this is a question that could apply to anyone who's practicing in a different region than where they're licensed. There are a couple of places where you need to cross your T's and dot your I's on this one. Not only do you need to check with your jurisdiction of licensure, so in this case, the BBS in the state of California oversees the licenses of LMFTs to see if you're allowed to move out of state to see clients within the state of California, which don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure LMFTs in California can. I know psychologists in California can, so as long as your clients are residing in the state of California and not out of state. And then you also need to check with whatever state or country jurisdiction that you're residing in to see if they have any applicable laws related to you offering treatment to folks in a different region. So just go ahead and check the applicable laws in the state where you're licensed and the state where your client lives and the state where you live, basically. Those are the 3 places. It's 11 o'clock, which is really late to start a work day, but I sent out a few emails this morning and I'm just about done with this week's video because that's what I'm doing right here. Woo. It's good to be in the office. Anyway, we only have one question left, so let's tackle it. This is a good one. What would you advise for pre-licensed therapists? This just kind of like touches on my passions because, at least for me, I felt like there were a lot of things about my pre-licensure experience that could have been improved on and I wish I was taught about. Anyway, a few pieces of advice for pre-licensed therapists, and apply them to your unique situation however you will. 1, feel free to do it in whatever way that aligns best with your values, at whatever pace aligns best with your needs and values. Also, please take everything that anyone in a leadership position says to you with a grain of salt. The data shows that on average, over time, this isn't true for every single therapist, just on average, we tend to decline in our effectiveness in our clinical work as we age in our career. So you're actually statistically one of the most effective therapists. I'm not saying that to get it to your head and to inflate your ego, but I think it is so possible in that pre-licensed state to sort of feel like, I don't know what I'm talking about, so-and-so is advising me to do this, and they've been in the field for however many decades, and so they must know what they're talking about. And Though there is something to be said about welcoming the advice of someone who's been doing this for a while. I mean, look who's talking. I mean, I've been doing this for now over a decade. Also, take into account your own knowledge and awareness, your gut check, all those things. I don't know if that was the advice you're looking for, but that's what comes to mind. Well, we'll see what I make of this video in the edit. I hope you enjoyed joining me in this kind of like vloggy but haphazard weekend of a Q&A video. But I really enjoyed bringing you along with me. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with scheduling, notes, and billing. They have a HIPAA secure telehealth platform and so many other features. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes and all of its features, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, thank you for joining me. It still blows my mind that, you know, you're here. So I hope you're doing well, and I'm wishing you all the best. And until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.